Hey everybody, I am back in Posen at the greenhouse, and I came back to get some chores done, but I also had some surprises, like this incredible display of dried hydrangeas. These are all panicle hydrangeas that we cut from the yard and from the plants that we had at the end of the season, and we have big plans for these. So these are going to be donated to the Thunder Bay Arts Council, and they are teaming up with us and Lasting Expressions Flower Shop in Alpena, and they're going to do a wreath making course, and it's going to be a fundraiser for the Thunder Bay Arts Council. So we're really excited to be a part of that. That's in the first week of December. I'm guessing that's going to be filling up very, very quickly. But I just thought you guys got to see this amazing display of hydrangeas. Now, not all of them were picked in their prime. Like some of them were picked a little bit late, so they're a little bit brown, but still very usable for decoration, especially for outdoor decoration. But they'd make great indoor displays as well. You can see how much variety and variation there is in these different hydrangeas. It's just really, really fun to look at. So although I'd love to stick around here with all this pretty stuff, I do need to get outside because there are a couple of plants that need moving. Now, the staff has moved most of the perennials and the shrubs and the trees to their winter storage areas, but there's a couple things out here that they've just been waiting on. We like to wait until the plants lose their leaves before we go ahead and put them into the cold frame, just because we don't want all that debris in that cold frame over the winter. It just becomes like a harboring spot for bugs, and it's just harder to clean up later on, whereas leaving it out here is just fine. So let's take a look at what I've got. Okay, so let's see what we have out here. Okay, there's like over here, let me close the door. We have a lot of the macrophylla hydrangeas, and macrophyllas tend to hold onto their leaves longer than the other types of hydrangeas. So even though they're wilted and going dormant, these leaves are going to stay on here for quite a while. And so these we do end up putting away inside the greenhouse or the cold frame for the winter, even though they have that. We don't do any trimming on the macrophyllas at all, although some of these were trimmed just for shape. But you can see this one, they cut the flowers off of it, but you can see the buds for next year are still there. The rest of them, they left them as is. Let's see, we have also some climbing hydrangeas, a couple of grasses. In general, sometimes usually we cut the grasses back, but I think they didn't cut these back because they are still looking pretty good. So I might actually leave these out. I like to wait until stuff is dormant, so you can see what we did with these other grasses. Oh, there's a chocolate vine as well. And I'm not sure what all those other plants are, but let's see what's going on in Hillside. That's where we keep them for the winter. Okay, so well, a decent amount of stuff in here, but not too much actually. Look how tidy everything is. Gosh, they really put things away in a nice, orderly fashion. So these are all the hardy hibiscus, a lot of the daylilies. I think that's probably Baptisia there. Some of the shrubs. Oh, look at this. Is this? Oh, I think this is elderberry. So, well, nice looking stuff. You can see a lot of this hasn't completely gone dormant yet. Things like the euonymus usually holds on to its leaves for quite a while. But as the temperature gets lower, these will start, a lot of them will start losing their leaves. And these plants don't really need any sunlight right now. They're going to be fine just like this. They're starting to go dormant. They're going to bed. So it's no surprise to them to be kind of in this area where there's very little light. So we can see, like, these are what we have for bagged hydrangeas. This is a lot less than we had last year. So, but it doesn't look like we have a lot of hydrangeas left. So I think they probably bagged up what they could. So we won't have as many big ones, or we'll plant more big ones in the spring. Oh, look how beautiful these heucheras look. Heucheras are nice because they're mostly like evergreen, so they're going to look like this all winter. We do trim back a little bit, but we don't want to do a lot of trimming on heuchera and some of these evergreen plants because a lot of times heuchera will start to rot if we do that. And we do come in and check these quite frequently to make sure they have water. These are all moist but not soggy right now. We'll probably come back in a month or so, check them again. Oh, look at the nice coralberry, proudberry. Love that on there. Wow, there's just so much Weigela in here, more elderberry. What is this one here? Oh, these are primrose here. So these are new for next year. It's a Proven Winners variety that we got in, and just absolutely love how these are looking. And we plant these now so that we'll have them in the spring. So they're going to overwinter in here. These are all peony in here. We had cut all the, or they had cut all the dogwood. So the yellow twig dogwood and the red twig dogwood, they put it with the hydrangeas, and they're going to use those for some of those wreath making session. So they'll have a couple things to choose from. Oh, that's the bridal veil spirea. It's a pretty nice color. And is that a Fothergilla over there? No, it's not. It is. Oh yeah, that is a Fothergilla. That's Legends of the Fall or Legends of the Small. Beautiful color in there. So now I'm just going to add to this. Clearly, I need to stay in this nice grid system that they've established. Really nice job. This is going to be so easy for watering. Some years we have so much stuff left over that things are just crowding the aisle, but we've gotten really good at not having too much product left over at the end of the season. So, this is all we have left, which is really, really good. Okay, that wasn't too bad of a job. I'm so glad I did it today though. I checked the forecast. There's going to be a 20-degree temperature drop overnight. So this job would have gotten much more miserable if I would have waited till tomorrow to do it. So I'm glad I got that done. Now, when it comes to putting these away, everybody has their own technique. My technique is usually try to put the hardier plants on the outside. So anything that's zone 3 and then zone 4, and then keep the higher zone plants more in the middle. That way, if the wind's coming, especially on this side where this is the prevailing wind, I want to have the really hardy plants up against there because it will be colder up against that wall. And then I also am always thinking about watering. So a lot of times I'll put taller plants down the middle or right at the edge, depending on how things are being configured, because we do need to get in here later on in the season and make sure that everything gets a good dose of water at some point. Sometimes they don't need it. Some plants need it more than once. So we got to keep and pay attention to that. We also need to make sure that we lock up every single night really securely, because if the voles or rabbits get in here, they will do so much damage to these plants that it'll just be wasted time for everything that we did, because we could lose a huge percentage of this if the critters get in here. So we try to make sure that doesn't happen. So now let's see, I'll go check, see what else needs to be done. So I thought I'd hang out here in the dirt bag just for old time's sake. It's been a couple months since I was in here, so kind of nice to be back here. And the sun is kind of bright over there, so my lighting is going to be really weird, but it doesn't matter. Since I've been home, I've gotten quite a bit done. So I got those shrubs put away, did some trimming, did some cleanup. I did some videos on all that. Big thing that I was doing though was working on orders and correcting some of the cancellations, or finding alternatives and substitutions for things that were canceled. There were a lot of cancellations this year, probably 4 or 5%, which is a lot of cancellations this time of year. A lot of times we see more cancellations as we get closer to the date because there's crop failure or things aren't available. But to have stuff already canceled, including like all of our Selenia scarlet begonias, oh my goodness, we can't be without those. Fortunately, I was able to get the red, no problem. So thank goodness that the people I'm working with at these different growers are able to accommodate the changes and working with me on all that stuff. So whew, that's a relief. Anyway, before I take off, I'm going to do just a little run around the property, show you how we're wintering over some of the other trees and things like that. So let's go take a look. So all of those stakes along there had trees put up against them. We've taken them all out and we put them away for the winter. So here you can see how we do that. So these are some beautiful larch. I love the color on larch. Larch, the kind of common name is tamarack, or the wild name, I guess, is. Look at how beautiful that color is. But what we do is we put them all very close together and then they get buried in soil. Now we could throw some more soil into the spaces if we want to, but usually it's not necessary for the more hardy plants. But you can see, we just insulate them with this soil, and most of these varieties can do just fine. Anything that is more of a zone 5 or 6, actually we don't have any 6s, so anything that's zone 5, we usually put in the cold frame just because it's a little safer with those, because with them so exposed, that just isn't enough protection. Let me head over to the evergreens, which are going to be over on the other side of that cold frame. Now inside this fencing area, we keep all the evergreens. The fencing is here to keep the rabbits, the voles and the deer out. And so we just line this area with all the different evergreens. There's gonna be some evergreens in here that are gonna need some transplanting. So we can do those over the winter as we can. So we'll bring those into usually greenhouse 7 and do a big kind of overhaul of that. But look at the frost on these. It looks really pretty. And here by the driveway, I mean, all of my hydrangeas that are in bags, they're going to stay there for the winter. They're hardy enough to be able to handle it, surprisingly. So they always do just fine, us just leaving them out there kind of unprotected. But look at, they're all kind of just dull and brown and small. And then the pond, and then back over there, that is where we keep all of our hydrangeas during the season. Completely empty, nothing over there. It's kind of lonely and desolate this time of year when we look at this stuff. But only a couple months, we're gonna have new plants coming in. Things are gonna be crazy around here. Everything will be green and lush again. That's what it's like being in a place with 4 seasons. So hey, I'm getting ready to head back home. We have a show this weekend outside of Milwaukee. So we're gonna be doing our art show thing and then getting all the Christmas stuff done and going through that whole process. So lots to do. Thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate you following along, and hopefully you enjoy these little behind the scenes looks at what goes on at a family run nursery and greenhouse. So talk to you guys all very, very soon.